And we are live. This episode of MMA Renegade is brought to you by Renegade Sports and MMAscene.com, the place you get all your MMA information. My name is Tyree Simon.
Hi, I'm Elijah Jones.
This is MMA Renegade, episode 14. Elijah, how are you doing, sir?
Whoop, whoop. I am doing well. I am taking one class this semester. The classes aren't as heavy. I have a cat T-shirt on. If you can't see, kind of fire.
Nice.
And I'm doing okay. I had you over last night, and I had some friends over last night, and we had a good time. How are you today?
I'm doing good, sir.
Good.
This is our first episode on MMAscene.com, which is great. I've been working on MMA Scene for about a month, maybe a month and a half.
I wish
check all my you can check out all my articles there as well. You can check out we did an episode last Sunday with Keith Lee, Bellator bantamweight that's going to be making his debut in the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
Check that out as well.
Yes. Check it out.
And I also want to say thank you to the new subscribers that subscribe to our channel. Please, thank you for subscribing, and I hope you enjoy the content.
Whoop, whoop. All right.
UFC 247 was yesterday, which means it's time for us to react. Elijah, what do you think of the event overall?
Well, let's just give the fans a little bit of background here. UFC 247 is the return of Jon Jones after about 6-month layoff, maybe, right? And it was in the Houston, Texas Toyota Center, where the Houston Rockets, I believe, play. I watch basketball, but not like too much. I just watch it because me and my brother watch it.
I got you, brother.
But yeah, yeah. So it took place in Houston, Texas, and we had a main event and co-main event, which was Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes, the champion versus the number 2 light heavyweight of the UFC's rankings, and then we had Valentina Shevchenko versus Caitlin Chookagian for the the flyweight belt, the women's flyweight belt. 247 is one for the books. It's definitely been an interesting card, a lot of interesting matchups. I do want to say we'll go about it later, but a shout out to James Krause for taking a fight on 1 day's notice at a weight class that's not his. It was some big scary dudes at 185, and he floats around 170. He can drop to 155, but it hasn't had the best. But when he's at 170, he's at his best. So that was a great, interesting card. Overall, I thought it was good. Not the best. It's not going to be the best card of the year so far. That much we know. There's cards that are slated to be better. There's just matchups and who's main event wise. But the performances we had last night were actually pretty good. And we'll get into the card. How did you feel about 247? Or tell me, what do you think about 247?
Yeah, I thought 247 was a solid card. You had a very controversial ending, which we're going to talk about. That we'll get people talking for the next couple of days. You had another dominant reign of a champion that we're going to talk about as well. And you had a couple of new people that showed up and showed out that we're going to talk about as well. Kalen Williams is somebody that made his debut and beat Alex Morano by knockout and really set his place in the welterweight division. And then, like I said, James Krause, that was another interesting fight as well. But I think the bigger story is the main event, which we're going to talk about right here, right now, is Jon Jones beating Dominic Reyes by unanimous decision. Judges Chris Lee had it 48-47, Marcos Rosales had it 48-47, and Joe Salas had it, I hope I'm saying that name right, 49-46.
Yep. For the winner by unanimous decision, Jon Jones.
Let me ask you this, Elijah. Did you have it for Jon Jones?
I knew. Okay, originally, we'll get into this. When we go round by round, it seemed as if Dominic had a great first round, but having to match that same type of tempo or pace for the rest of the fight, I knew would be not the biggest issue, but it'd be hard to keep that up with Jon Jones. After the bell rang for the 5th round, I was worried because I thought Dominic had done enough to give Jon Jones a run for the money in the judge's eyes, right? But then when I started replaying the rounds in my head and thinking about the octagon control, the striking, the creative movement, the handling, how is he dodging? How is he ducking? Who was ducking? When was ducking? The angles cut by these fighters. I had it in my head, split decision Jon Jones. That's what I thought was going to happen because I thought this was a close fight. I thought Dominic Reyes was touching him enough to even go like, oh, like maybe Jon Jones he's getting tagged here and there. But then when you see some of the angles that are shown on the ESPN Plus app, you also see Jon Jones. You see these shots, if anything, just missing or touching him too. I think this is the most he's touched up he's been in a while, if I'm being honest with you, when it comes to the face, because John Jones' nose was bleeding at one point, and he had a little bit of bumps and bruises. But I for sure, by the end of the round, like, fifth bell, I was worried that Dominic Reyes had enough he could have won this by split decision. But then I thought round 2 was such an even round that it could have gone either way. So I gave it to John Jones, and I thought the verdict would be John Jones by split decision. What about you?
Let me ask you this before I talk about me. If you had about split decision, you're saying there was 2 rounds for Dominic Reyes and 2 rounds for John Jones. How'd you score the rounds?
So round 1, definitely Dominic Reyes. Round 2, I had originally thought Dominic Reyes was winning, but I was like, it's such a close round because John Jones is pushing forward. So that round to me could have gone either way. Mm-hmm. And then you have the round 3 where Dominic Reyes, he was doing well. He was touching John Jones, but John Jones was still pushing forward, cutting and trying to get out. I thought Dominic Reyes just edged him out a little bit in that round. But then when I compared round 3 to round 2, that's when I realized the same steam wasn't there. I thought round 3, Dominic Reyes had edged John Jones out. Like, he's like, all right, cool, that's his round. But when you go back to round 2, you saw there's a little bit of not hesitation, but John Jones realized what he had to do, and he set the right movements. He wasn't going in there swinging wild, but he made the small adjustments he needed to do in terms of pushing forward and making sure Dominic Reyes wasn't touching him as much as he was in the first round. First new opponent, hasn't fought him before. That's that's expected in a fight with John Jones. He has to download that data before he's able to install that. So, and then rounds 4 and 5, were clearly John Jones. So in my head, it was like, wow, like based on the way whoever got round 2 is basically the winner of this. But then the way round 4 and 5 went, it seemed like the damage that John Jones had put on him in round 2 and 3 seemed to have added up by round 4 and 5. And if you look at it, the same game plan he implemented or started implementing in round 2 was basically multiplied by 2 in round 4. And then by round 5, you saw that wear and tear on Dominic Reyes. So don't get me wrong, my heart was racing when it was winning. But then when they said unanimous decision, I was like, oh, okay, like I guess like I get it. I understand why John Jones won. I don't think Dominic Reyes was robbed, in my opinion. I see that narrative going on, but I guess we'll talk about that later. I do feel that John Jones won this fight. But I could, the second round was so close. It was hard. It was hard. But then when my opinion isn't the same as the judge's opinion. The guy who scored at 49-46, I don't know. But the person there's 2 judges who kind of scored it pretty much for Jones. So I get what happened.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the 49-46. I think I can decipher what that judge may have thought in the fight. But speaking about me and how I scored it for John Jones. I thought it was 3-2. I thought that you could give Reyes round 1. I thought John Jones took round 2. I thought Reyes did just enough early on in round 3 to win it.
And that's
round 4. I thought round 4 and round 5 was for John Jones. Yeah. But even round 2 and 3, I thought were pretty close in the fact that John Jones ended the second and third round strong. Reyes in the beginning of the second round and third round came out hot, and by the middle of the second and third round, John Jones was able to do just enough to try to steal the round, and I thought he did in round 2. I'm not too sure about round 3, but you can make an argument he stole round 3 too. That's why when people say the 49-46 is a little wild, I then have to go back to the stats. When I look at the stats of round 2 and round 3, I say, okay, I can see where John Jones may have took in the fight, because Dominic Reyes, and the brilliance of Dominic Reyes, giving him props, is the fact that Dominic Reyes came out strong. He came out strong, came out firing. He really give John Jones a chance to really get download data in the end of the first round. He was coming. He landed some good shots against John Jones. He had a body shot that I thought John Jones slipped on, but it had enough power to knock his balance off.
It was a cross. It was a left cross that dropped John Jones, which is interesting.
To the body.
Off balance, yeah.
To the body, yes. But that was a perfect strategy. John McRae's footwork was great last night. But my issue was Dominic Reyes, as you see the fight go on from the first to the second round, the footwork decreased a lot. because of the fact that John Jones did a great job in making Dominic Reyes.
It's hard. You get the two confused because they're Dominics. Yeah, come on, it happens, brother.
But Dominic Reyes was going on his back foot the whole entire time, and John Jones was pressing forward.
Yeah.
In doing so, Dominic Reyes had to not only try to use his foot to try to get inside and try to hit John Jones a couple of times. He would hit a jab and he'll follow up on it multiple times. But now he's on his back foot, so now he has to constantly move, constantly work. And I thought John Jones from the 2nd to the 5th round did a great job of making Dominic Reyes work. And then you also see it towards the end of the round, of round 2 to round 5. You see Dominic Reyes John Jones getting the better of Dominic Reyes.
I agree.
So I think the judge may have seen the fact that in round 2 to round 5, by the end of the second to the end of the 5th round, John Jones getting the better of Dominic Reyes. Even though Dominic Reyes started off the round strong, John Jones ended the rounds pretty strong.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because the way that I wonder, I'm not saying the first round kind of hurt Reyes, right? But it's interesting to see that way he started strong, very strong, great footwork. He did one of the most surprising things I thought is when John Jones, because he has the 84 reach. 84 length reach, right? And what John Jones likes to do, he likes to hold his palms out, kind of shy away from you. He can either throw an up jab because he changes his level, throws an up jab like this, goes out, or he uses that to kind of circle out, create distance, and try to get you to like bite on something before he plants and maybe hits you with anything, right? And what Dominic Reyes was able to do, he would angle out with him. He would follow Jones and be able to throw a high kick or body kick. That was what was most impressive to me, because it was in those moments, that's when John Jones was like, all right, cool. If I know I stay this amount of space away from you, I won't be hit. But Dominic Reyes has the length and reach to get in and hit John Jones, or to stay out long enough and still hit him. So I want to get that out there. That's what my respect for Dominic is. But it's interesting because I think Dominic Reyes started almost every round up until round 4 and 5 really strong. That was the narrative, right? He started strong. It was good, right? But then after a while, I was like, all right, John Jones knows what's coming. John Jones knows, figure it out. And it wasn't like John Jones was just dominating him once he figured it out. John Jones did it little by little. And I think in the UFC games, you see the momentum bar at the top, right? Because at the momentum bar, you're like, bop. All right, cool. You get a jab. It's like a little bit. You get a jab cross. You see that bar grow. Then you see that bar grow. You hit them. It's like a rhythm or a pace you're kind of setting. So I think the judges saw that when you're talking about, I guess, from rounds 2 to 5, I think judges saw that momentum swinging to John Jones, even though Dominic Reyes was tapping him. He was hitting him, but you saw that momentum being switched from, Reyes is, starting off strong, pop, pop, light on his feet, pop, pop, hitting him body, to John Jones walking him down, systematically tapping him, touching him, making sure he can't do things. So that footwork that you mentioned, because, great analyst here, that footwork you mentioned at the beginning of the rounds, definitely, I want to say, I think it's almost imperative you watch that fight again. I saw this number appeared to me multiple times, around 2:30. Around between 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 30 seconds is when you saw that kind of switch in the round where Jones was picking up the later half of the round. And I think that's the narrative of why John Jones wins, is because he's able to make those adjustments in the right amount of time.
Yeah, and I want to say the reference you're making towards is EA Sports UFC 3 game, which you're making a reference of the momentum bar reference there. But yeah, for me, like I said, the footwork of Dominic Reyes became an issue. It was impressive, but it became an issue because he started off the round 1, round 2 so strong to try to get ahead of John Jones.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it was technically trying to knock out John Jones, but it was trying to do enough to where John Jones couldn't read what Dominic Reyes was doing, but John Jones was able to read it, and all the work that Dominic Reyes was trying to do, it fatigued him. And you can see it fatigued him. And you can see by the end of the second to the end of the third round, you see getting more and more tired. In the 4th and 5th, I thought I had off of John Jones. I'm just saying for Joe Salas, scoring at 49-46. I'm not looking at the numbers, and I have
not knocking it.
I'm not totally knocking it, because round 3, it's neck and neck in terms of significant strikes. Yeah. John Jones was 55, Dominic Reyes 57. Dominic Reyes landed him a lot more to the body. Everything else is pretty much close to even. Head was the same, 7-7. Legs was almost the same, 7-6 for John Jones, 7-6. And then the body was all Dominic Reyes, 13-14 to John Jones's 5.
Yeah,
I don't know how they scored the body shots, and I don't know if the body shots stuck out as much in the fight when you go back and watch it.
This is something you brought to my attention last night when we were watching it. It's because he was tapping him to the body. What defines the significant strike when it comes to the body? Because you have people who throw hooks to the body, and a hook is a little bit more powerful than a jab to the body, right? You'll hear Joe Rogan or one of the commentators go, "Ooh, good hit to the body, good hit to the body," right? But are they labeling all of those hits as a good hit to the body? Because there's a jab, there's the cross, there's the hook, there's an uppercut, and it's just interesting that if they didn't count all those strikes, I'm just interested at where the judging is going then, because I feel like in the narrative for a few other fights, if I'm not mistaken, where you saw like these big shots that just they sounded glorious, like, ooh, like if you got hit with that, that'd be great, but they didn't land. That seemed to be kind of where this was. Like you heard like a ooh but it was like, did that land, or was that just like just a loud shot?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think the commentary, when you listen to the commentary with this fight, I think it makes Dominick Reyes did even more impressive, right? So, and I'm not trying to discredit Dominick Reyes, but when you listen to the commentary is reacting to every shot that Dominick Reyes is throwing, which makes you think that Dominick Reyes is landing those shots. When in fact, when you watch the fight, he's not. Some of those shots, those big swinging shots he was trying to throw, he was not landing. And if he was landing, Jon Jones was rolling with it to where it would hit his shoulder. It would just
slide off his neck. Yeah.
Yes. So a lot of this, the oohs and ahs that the judges, the commentators, Joe Rogan and Dominick Cruz were reacting to. They were reacting to those big thrown shots, but they weren't really landing anything, which skews the viewer's opinion on who won the fight.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. But for the most part, I also think when it comes like, oh, that didn't land, or like I think they mixed it up and they did well. Like, oh, that didn't hurt. He rolled. Oh, he did. Look how his technique, his defense is there. Like, I think I do agree with you with when commentary can sway how you're thinking. And I think it's always best to, once you watch a fight that's close like this, you got to watch it again without commentary. You gotta watch it again without commentary, and then that's when you're able to see the ins and outs, because you're not consciously, like, you're subconsciously like, oh, well, I heard them say that was a good shot. Maybe that was a good shot, Like you need to retroactively think that for yourself. But I do think that commentary can play a large part, because, like, again, last night everybody was throwing bombs. Let's just say that there's bombs being thrown by a lot of people, but when you look at realistically what happened, and then you look at the angle that the camera was showing, it's like it all happened so quick. It's like, oh, but then, like, did it land? Because, like,
I'll give you a perfect example, right? And we're gonna just braze by it, but Trevin Giles versus James Krause.
Yeah,
listen to the commentary for that fight, and it's almost the same reaction. James Krause is a lot of those strikes that James Krause that Trevin Giles was throwing. James Krause was able to dodge them. But because of how Trevin Giles was swinging, you think that he's landing significant damage on James Krause.
Well,
and it's the commentators are saying, "Wow, ooh, what a shot!" But it's when you look at the fight and you look at the angles, and look at James Krause, he's dodging a lot of them. Some of them are landing, and some of them are having an impact. But a lot of stuff they're reacting to is not landing.
That's a very good fight to call. The Ilir Latifi versus Derek Brunson. I keep saying that name. The Ilir Latifi fight versus
another one.
What's his name? Okay, the Black Beast. We're just gonna call him that.
Yes.
Black Beast. Let's talk about Giles first. The issue with that fight was that Giles would touch him with maybe a jab or a cross, and then James Krause would dodge every strike under the sun thrown at him. And it was like, ooh, like they would be like, ooh, and he got caught, right? And James Krause would eat it. He would duck it. He would do whatever he did. One would hit him. They'd be like, dang. And they're like, oh, look at this. He's following up. But, like, that's when Krause was shoulder, head movement. Yes. And it's like they kind of anticipated not for him to get, like, knocked out, but like, oh, like this could happen. And I guess that's kind of where it was geared towards going. It's like, oh, Krause might be hurt. Like, and that's the usual. But this card seemed to be like, oh, wow, he's hurt. Big shot. But it's big, but did it hurt? Like, big, but he's not out. Big, he's still conscious. Big, and he's still in the fight. So, like, I 100%. And then the Derek Lewis. There we go. That's the name. Look, get this man. Someone hire this man for UFC.
MSC is doing well. So
That's true. MMA scene is pretty awesome, actually. I really enjoy this site, all the articles that are there. But that's a side note. But Derek Lewis versus Ilir Latifi. The first knee, I will say, that first jumping knee he landed, pretty fucking solid. Pretty solid. The knees after that were all just kind of hype. All just kind of hype, in my opinion. I stepped away to go check on like my room to get something, and I came back and I heard that he had thrown a kick, a high jumping kick that was pretty like impressive. But from what I heard, it didn't actually. It was blocked and didn't land. Yes. So like I think those big moments that was created in that fight with Ilir Latifi and Derek Lewis kind of geared the fight towards Lewis. But in my opinion, I don't think Lewis won that fight.
Which is fair, right? And the issue is, like I said, the commentary, right? So when you have, and I'm bringing this all full circles, when you have Dominic Reyes, a guy that nobody really, the people that watch MMA knew who Dominic Reyes was. 100%. But the people that didn't watch Dominic Reyes, or didn't really give him a chance in this fight, they were really impressed by how Dominic Reyes did. Just like this Thiago Santos fight as well, where Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes do so well against Jon Jones. He had lower expectations for him in the first place.
Yeah.
That now you're like, oh wow, it was a robbery. And that this and it was a perfect segue to the robbery issue that's upon us. Is the commentary is reacting to the
narrative,
the underdog. The underdog being able to perform and rise to the occasion, which great to Dominic Reyes and great to Thiago Santos for doing.
Yeah,
but it did not take away that Jon Jones. It was not a robbery. It was either 3-2, and if you want to look at Joe Salas and say 49-46, you could maybe look at an argument for 4-2.
The argument is however extreme that argument is, that argument can be argued. I will not discredit that argument. I agree, but for someone to conclude it was a robbery, this is just not one of those cases. I will go ahead and tell you what's a robbery. Well, actually, no. Actually, what I thought was a robbery. GSP versus Johnny Hendricks. I at first thought that was a robbery, but when you go back and look at it, even though GSP took a lot of damage because Johnny Hendricks hit like a Mack truck, GSP was able to jab him and get the body, stuff the takedowns. So like GSP, like again, the narrative of the underdog is awesome. Here for it. They make things happen. They make the impossible possible, which is great. But you can't take away the skills that Jon Jones has. And I forget who said this. I think it may have been the first Jon Jones versus Gustafsson fight. It was, if you got to finish the champ. You got to finish the champ. Like that should be the mindset. You got to finish the champ, because if you don't finish the champ, chances are the champ just may win just because they're the champ.
Which is incorrect, right? Which is incorrect. I understand the thinking, and that is a quote.
And but it's a big quote.
It's incorrect because that's not how you should judge a fight. You should not judge a fight by you have to finish the champ. It should be it should be round by round. Did you do enough to win the rounds? And even in that case, I thought Jon Jones did enough from round 2. And you can make an argument if you want for 3 because the significant structure was so close.
Yeah,
you can make an argument for 3 as well because of the events and the octagon control of Jon Jones. When you put it all together and say, okay, the numbers are close.
Yeah.
What can we look at to say who has the advantage over the other? You could say by the 3rd round, Dominic Reyes is on his back foot. Jon Jones is pushing forward. He has octagon control, and Dominic Reyes is slowing down in the fight. You look at round 4 and 5, he slowed down progressively in the fight. So you can look at round 3. You can look at round 2. Honestly, I have Jon Jones for round 2. You can look at round 3 and look at round 4 and 5 for Jon Jones if you were to look at it that way.
I agree with what you're saying. I still wouldn't have given. I just don't think Jon Jones. I think Dominic Reyes edged out Jon Jones in round 3. But for them to say Jon Jones unanimous decision, I agree. I don't. I just don't. It's not that I don't see Dominic doing enough. That's what I guess that's the main point we're trying to get out here. It's not that we don't see Dominic Reyes as he put on a very impressive performance.
Yes,
impressive. One of the best since I think the Gustafsson 2 fight. Gustafsson first fight. I think that's one of when we look at Jon Jones' history in title fights. Jon Jones, I think some of his greater fights when he has to overcome some type of like blockade, and after that first round, which is similar to like the Lyoto Machida fight, where he had someone who was in his face and not in his face, but touching him up when he didn't expect it, and then he makes the adjustments and is able to come out, and that's just the ability of Jon Jones. That's just it. That's just what we saw on display last night. Was the ability to see the problem, understand the problem, and try to find a solution in the right amount of time, which he was able to do.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even consider it Gustafsson, right? I would consider it more of the Thiago Santos fight. And I say that because
no. I didn't compare. I'm not comparing the fight as to the same challenge. I'm comparing the fight where John Jones had to work. Like he had to the first 3 rounds, it was like, oh, he has to figure this out. And then by the end of that fight, he wins.
Yeah, I'm still going Thiago Santos because I think when you go back, watch the fight, have the commentary off, and just watch the fight overall.
I've watched that fight 3 times.
I think you can make a distinction with John Jones and Dominic Reyes being more similar to Thiago Santos and John Jones than John Jones versus Gustafsson. Because I think with the commentary and I think just reacting after the fight, you say that Dominic Reyes did a better job and that is on par with Gustafsson. The Gustafsson fight, John Jones was hurt.
Well, I'm not equating. Let me get this straight. I guess maybe let me retract that because maybe I'm not making sense, or maybe I'm saying something that maybe we're not getting. I'm not comparing the damage that he took in the Gustafsson first fight to the damage he took in this fight. I'm not comparing those 2 fighters at all. I guess what we were talking about was like, I guess the fight in its own right and what happened. And I'm not talking about whether John Jones was able to like come on top.
Right.
What was the point you had mentioned before I mentioned the Gustafsson fight?
I don't think you brought up the Gustafsson fight.
I brought up the Gustafsson fight as
you try to compare the scoring.
No, I don't. I feel like we'll watch this again. I don't know. Okay. Let me retract that. If I at any point, I don't remember saying scoring wise. That's what it was. The point I'm trying to make about the Gustafsson fight is just that I'm talking about. Oh, this is what I was talking about. I was talking about how John Jones is able to overcome the problems. That was my main point. Right, I wasn't comparing the fact that it was just so close. I was comparing the fact that this was one of John Jones' most tough. Like it was a tough fight to John Jones because he hasn't. I mean, besides the Thiago Santos fight, when's the last time you've seen him in big trouble? Or when's the last time you see him have an opponent besides Cormier? The Cormier is going to be the only person because that actually was a solid go back and forth. But besides the Santos fight and besides the Santos fight and besides the Cormier fight, when you look at his older fights, you see those first round when John Jones is like trying to download that data. The Lyoto Machida fight, when John Jones would rush in or try to come in, Lyoto would tag him. When John Jones was trying to throw that first, like a low kick, he would get tagged. The point I'm trying to make is that John Jones, he overcame this problem and solution. That's all. I'm not comparing whether or not this was a similar fight. All I'm saying is the ability of John Jones to recognize the problem and see the solution. I'm not comparing Gustafsson's 1 to this fight. I'm not saying they're equally hard. What I'm saying is John Jones' ability. That's all I saw on last night's display was that John Jones' ability to overcome the problem. I apologize if earlier maybe I misconstrued that because I'm word vomiting, but we're talking on a podcast. This is just us right now. We're trying to figure it out. That's the main idea that I want to portray. That is all.
No, I'm glad you brought that part of the equation up, and I understand what you're saying. You're saying the overall John Jones ability to overcome adversity. What you're saying. You're not comparing other fights. You're just saying his overall adversity looking at past fights.
Yes.
Got that part. What I was thinking about was the narrative that, and this is a great segue into it, the narrative that this was a robbery, A, and then B, the narrative that it needs to be a rematch because it's on par with Gustafsson. That's where I'm more leaning towards. We're talking about robbery, we're talking about a rematch now.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's on that level. I think it's more of the Santos fight where when you go back and watch the fight with the commentary off, with whatever reaction you have after the fight, go back and watch it with a fresh mind going into it. You see that John Jones won 3 of the 2 rounds.
Yeah. This is something we talked about. This is something we've talked about after because we've watched the fight a little bit later. We were like, dang, like I agree. Sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, yeah, so the Gustafsson fight was a fight where it was a split decision, and it was a close fight, and it went all the way to the 5th round, where John Jones has to dig deep in order to win the fight. And this, you can look at it and say John Jones really didn't have to dig. He showed his presence, but it wasn't like from round, 3, 4, and 5, it was an absolute war.
Yeah. I agree.
It was John Jones significantly dominating the end of the second, the end of the third, the end of the fourth, and the end of the fifth. And no matter how impressive Dominic Reyes was in the beginning, the end of the rounds were John Jones.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
And that's a far cry from Gustafsson, where Gustafsson was just Gustafsson and John Jones was a war, and it was John Jones having to do the incredible in order to overcome.
Fourth and fifth round.
John Jones, as good as his performance is, he didn't overcome to the level of Gustafsson. This is more on par with the Thiago Santos fight, where Thiago Santos was putting up a good fight, and John Jones is showing his championship presence and the ability to able to win those rounds.
Yeah, I agree. You like what we mentioned earlier on this podcast here was that you see the people that no matter how they start off, the round seems to always be controlled by John Jones.
Yes,
that's just it. And this is what you're saying. You see that championship. That's the presence. And I agree. I don't think he had to. The brother definitely didn't have to dig into his back pocket to pull some shit out for this fight last night. But what John Jones had to do was just show why he's the champ. He showed why he was the champ, which is the ability to overcome. What do you call? I just messed up that word. The ability to overcome a problem. That's what we saw. But I agree. This is like the Santos fight. I don't think he had to. I don't think he was pushed to the point where not he's desperate, but he has to put all that he's got. Now it's actually interesting because Greg Jackson at the start before the fifth round started was like, I need all you got, Jones. I need everything, and I was like, it's interesting because when you heard if you go back and watch the Gustafsson fight, he was like, yo, you got to do something. You got to do something because this man's winning.
Well, I think the Greg Jackson issue, the statement, I think it's more towards you have to steal this fifth round.
Yeah.
And I don't think when you look at the fight, like we said overall, when you look at the fight, I don't think you can say Dominic Reyes was leading the charge and that it was 2-2 going into the. I think he can make an argument. Yeah. Round 2, John Jones ended the round strong, and like we said before, round 3 was so close that the closest thing you can look to at who got the better of who is advancement in octagon control, and that would lean towards more John Jones.
Yeah,
and then with Dominic Reyes fatigued in round 4, in round 5, it's the overall body of work led more to John Jones. So it wasn't like Gustafsson was keep coming at you and was it was a close back.
Not at
all. It
all.
wasn't like Kevin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya, which is another one where it's 2-2 going into the fifth round and somebody has to steal it. It was by the end of the second round to the fifth, John Jones had the better of Dominic Reyes, and Dominic Reyes was slowing down considerably, and Dominic Reyes was not putting up the same amount. He in terms of round 3, that he putting up output, but by the end of round 2 and by round 3, it was all John Jones in terms of advancement, octagon control, and then the numbers were so close in round 3 that you could look at octagon control and advancement to give it to John Jones. That's what I'm saying.
You know what's interesting? I know I 100% agree with like the stats that you're saying are true. Like if you look at the stats, it's not that it's super close where it's like wow, it's 1-2 points. It's like it's close, like and it could go either way. But then when you look at the tangibles by what's being scored, which is octagon control, moving forward, takedowns, it wasn't a big factor, but it did solidify. I believe round 4 is when he took him down. If I'm not mistaken, round 4. That solidified round 4. Round 5 was the pusher forward, and I think he landed more. But when you go back to round 2 and 3, right? It just appearance-wise, watching the fight, no stats, you're just watching, visually trying to take it all in. Dominic Reyes throws that not high volume, throws enough volume to get John to be like, ooh, John covers up, making these moves, trying to get the read. And then by the end of the round, you see John Jones is just tapping him. So let's say every 2 to 3, hits Dominic Reyes does, or 3 or 4, because he was throwing some pretty good combos there at certain points, or just catching Jones, in certain angles. John Jones was equally kind of giving back. So he would give 2, John Jones would throw a teep kick. John Jones would throw a body kick. Dominic Reyes would go, another 2, 3, 4 hits. John Jones would still be like attacking the legs, hitting the body, catching him with just a single jab. So like by the end, like even though Dominic Reyes was able to land, it seemed like throughout that round, it just tipped in John's favor.
Yes.
That's just it. It just tipped in John's favor.
Yes.
And it's not a bad thing. It's just a testament to his ability. And I think one of the biggest things Dominic Reyes can take from this fight is one. This is, I think, this is his first fight like this. He'll be back in the championship fight again. I have no doubt about that.
I can agree with that.
But I think the adjustment he's going to have to make here is not to just start off the round so strong, and then what happens is to either set a pace that can explode here on certain parts of the round, or maybe not. I don't want any big changes from Dominic Reyes, I guess is the big point I'm trying to make, because I still think he can beat a lot of people in that division. It's just that when you go against someone like Jones, you have to take into account that he's making you play his game, and that he's going for the long game. So he starts the round, he lets you do what you got to do, and then there's a switch. He finishes the rest of the round, and that's how you're supposed to beat John Jones. I'm not saying it's easy, but you got to beat him in the areas like that.
Let me ask you this: does this fight warrant a rematch? I think that's the bigger question in all of this now. When you look at the aftermath or anything like that, does John Jones, Dominic Reyes to have to happen?
Now, are you asking as a fan, or are you asking as a UFC, like as what UFC should do next?
I'm actually on both.
As a fan, I would love to see them run it back. I would love to see it run it back. Although we do know rematches don't always have the magic as the first match. I think this rematch would be good as a fan. But if I'm UFC, actually, I just want to talk about the post-fight presser. John Jones said, I think this was brilliant on his part. He said, if Dana White wants to push for a rematch, so be it. It's up to the UFC to see what they want. I thought that was the best thing to say, because it just clears them of like, I'm the champ. They tell me who to fight. I accept it. Let's do it. If I'm UFC, he lost. Let's give him some time. I want to see John Jones do something else, because John Jones, what we saw last night is that John Jones is a fantastic fighter, but John Jones has been fighting since he's 23.
Yes.
Sorry, earlier than that, maybe because he won the championship at 23. John Jones has been fighting since
he was fighting before.
Yeah, you got to fight a little bit, probably 21, right? Let's just say that around that 20, 21. Let's just give it a 2-year gap here. John Jones, not to say that he's not going to have the longevity, because he hasn't been touched too hard. He hasn't been knocked out. He has it, but these years are going to take a toll of him. All these years of fighting, we just know that for a fact. As a fighter, this happens. The accumulation of things just happen. If we're trying to optimize the star power we have in John Jones, the next move is to have him move up to heavyweight and fight Stipe. That's just that's the more realistic move than having a rematch with Dominic Reyes. As a fan, I would love to see them run it back, because it was a good fight. John Jones did win by unanimous decision. I thought it was slightly more closer. That's just my opinion. I would like to see them run it back. But if I'm UFC and we're talking about let's make the money fight, let's get this guy the challenge that he wants, let's get Stipe the challenge that he wants, John Jones versus Stipe. What do you think?
My opinion on this has changed from like when we talked about it last night.
Yeah.
I wonder if the reaction, like what we talked about before, I wonder if the reaction of this needs to be a rematch is just reactionary off the fight.
Yeah.
Or if they genuinely think they want to see a rematch. Because I think that plays a big factor.
I agree.
Because if people want to see a rematch, and if it gets that much interest, it makes the perfect sense to do a rematch, right? Even though I thought it was a clear decision for John Jones.
Yeah.
If people want to see a rematch, and they're not just fake outrage about it, and they genuinely want to see if Dominic Reyes can beat John Jones, then you can run it back. Other than that, I don't want to see John Jones versus Dominic Reyes.
Yeah,
I thought John Jones did enough to win the fight. I thought that John Jones. I think the competition level of light heavyweight has caught up to John Jones to when he first started, which is going to happen, right? John Jones has been doing it for a long time, and the game has evolved. Yeah. And John Jones is 33 years old. I want to see the best out of John Jones now. So if that's the case, I want to see John Jones move to heavyweight now, and let's see how he does. If we're saying this is peak John Jones right now, let's see peak John Jones fight heavyweight. And let's see him at the best he's going to be right now against heavyweights that are going to be more of a problem than Dominic Reyes.
I agree. Now's the time to do it.
Yes. Now
again, John Jones has the longevity. Sorry, I'm not to cut you off. He has longevity, but you're not going to fight forever.
Yeah, and when you look at this Dominic Reyes fight, right? And let's say the good rematch. Jon Jones, for me, can take away a lot more than what Dominic Reyes can from Jon Jones.
Agreed.
Here's why. I think Dominic Reyes, just looking at the fight, I think Dominic Reyes is great in distance and in space to where he's able to explode and able to land 2 or 3 shots and lead in and try to hit you with some more. I think Dominic Reyes is good at countering as well.
Yeah.
Dominic Reyes is not good in close distance when somebody is not coming into you. And I thought Jon Jones did a great job in octagon control. I thought he did a great job of making Dominic Reyes move with leg kicks, the oblique kicks, the kicks to the body.
I agree.
I think Jon Jones in the second fight, if they were to fight again, I think Jon Jones look at what he did in round 2 to round 5 and say, okay, not only can I stand with him, I can also make him work. And if I make Dominic Reyes work and move him in his back foot, he's going to use a lot of movement, a lot of energy in order to try to land shots against me.
Agreed.
It's also not as effective in close distance. And if I'm able to use my distance to stay on the outside and not be solely in range, I'm able to land oblique kicks, kicks to the body, and hurt Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes is not as effective.
One thing, sorry to interrupt, I will say is that it seemed like when they got into the pocket and like, I guess, well, not in the pocket, but when they both got into the very short range, it didn't seem like Jon Jones was unable to handle himself. You know, I think that's a testament. It seemed like Reyes had better striking when they were both on the, like, they both were doing better when they're on the outside, which makes sense because they both are so bitch long, like really big, long guys, you know? But when it came to I think Cruz, I think Reyes' uppercuts hurt Jones. But then Jones was able to land not a lot of elbows, but when he did land elbows, they were cool. And then Jones was able to land a lot of like step-in jabs and body shots. So and the kicks. So I thought again it was pretty even, and which is what you're attesting to. The 2, in the 2 and 3, the pushing forward, it made the difference in the wrestling.
Yeah, and like I said, I was gonna say Dominic Reyes is not the distance in between where Dominic Reyes has to, he has to do something. Jon Jones is going to throw oblique kicks. He's going to throw leg kicks. He's going to throw body shots, teep kicks, and it's going to throw off Dominic Reyes. He has to continue moving around and try to avoid it. And I think that's the issue. I just think Jon Jones has a better game plan and better tools in order to deal with Dominic Reyes than Dominic Reyes has.
Yeah.
And you're not even counting the wrestling, which can play a factor.
Yeah, agreed.
So I just think in the second fight, I think Jon Jones could take this fight and pick him apart, honestly, and just looking at what he did in round 2 to 5.
Yeah. Well, we know Jon Jones when it comes to when he fights you the second time, it's a totally different fight.
Yes.
It's a totally different fight.
Which leads to the fact that do you want to see Jon Jones face Dominic Reyes again, now with data, now understanding how he did well against you from round 2 to 5. It to me it's just like at 33 years old and the peak of his career, I don't want to see him. I don't want to see it. I got what I need. It's
fair. We saw the result. Let's move.
Yes. So I don't think it should be a rematch. I understand if it is. I'll be interested to see a rematch, but I'm more leaning towards I want to see Jon Jones against heavyweights where can one shot knock out Jon Jones. We see Jon Jones have a chin. Can Jon Jones deal with the striking of Stipe? Can he also deal with Stipe as a good wrestler too? Could Jon Jones deal with the wrestling of Stipe? These are questions I have more so, and I want to see more so than seeing Dominic Reyes get another shot at the rematch.
I agree. I think that then as a fan, I'd like to see that fight run back because I want to know if Dominic Reyes can do it a second time. That's like after the first chance, we've always talked about this is the best chance to beat Jon Jones. After that, your chances drop. It drops dramatically. But Jones versus Stipe, it's been talked about. It's it's something that can happen. Honestly, right now, it's something that can happen. Given the state of UFC, given the state of light heavyweight division, given the state of the heavyweight division, it's definitely something that's feasible.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think the more realistic approach is Jon Jones versus Stipe. But as a fan, I'd like to see them run it back.
And last thing before we go to Jon, we're going 44 minutes talking about Jon Jones. Last thing I wanted to bring up was just the distance landed. John Jones had 97, Reyes is 93. So by like I said, Dominic Reyes had the distance, and he was using his distance in order to beat John John Jones. But towards round 2 to 5, we started to see John Jones take the little distance away from Dominic Reyes.
Yeah.
And then you see
short enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's all my thoughts on John Jones. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Nah, I like seeing the guy fight. That's all.
Yeah, it was a good fight. It was a good fight, and I'm glad it was put together.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna go through this card. Valentina Shevchenko beat Kayla Chookagian by TKO from crucifix position. Anything you want to say on this fight?
I will say I noticed that Valentina, instead of she incorporates a lot of foot movement. She used Tiger Muay Thai, and that camp is just so great, right? But what was interesting, by the third round, I don't think she slowed down. You saw a little bit of slowing down from Valentina. So I wonder if there was any issue there on her part. But again, even with her slowing down, she is just fucking fantastic. Sorry, excuse my language, but that woman is just, I mean, honestly, one of the greatest woman fighters ever. That's just it. She's that good. And Kayla Chookagian, I think the issue early for her was just finding that range and distance. She couldn't get it. And I think that ultimately led to her losing. But when you saw that Valentina slowing down around the third round, that's when you saw Caitlin she's touching her leg, touching her teep, getting not a jab, couldn't get the jab going, but definitely was able to touch her with the legs. But Caitlin Valentina Shevchenko is just that fun, just good. That spinning kick. I'm sorry, Tyrese, please elaborate on this for me. That just, I don't know, man.
Yeah. So for me, I want to ask you this: do you think that the fight was stopped early?
No, I think I don't. I think in the event that Valentina Caitlin Chookagian was able to get out under. So for you to know, the crucifix position is where it's kind of like in a crucifix, where Valentina had her left arm under Kayla Chookagian's right shoulder, and she's raining down elbows in the crucifix position, and it looks like Kayla Chookagian is about to slip out from her left side, and because her arm was kind of up, and it looks like it was going to just slide off straight like that while they're on the ground. But in that moment, she's still she's trying to slide out. She's taking a considerable amount of damage, and so I realistically did not. If she got out, I still think she would have been in a lot of danger. So I think it was a good stoppage. But do you?
I think so too. I think that if it went on further, it was going to be even more damage to Kayla Chookagian. I think Kayla Chookagian would have been a champion at this division if Valentina Shevchenko wasn't there. I think she has all the tangibles to be a champion. I just think that Valentina Shevchenko is in that division, and it just makes it hard. Yeah. But it doesn't take away from how good Chookagian is. It's just the fact that I just think Valentina Shevchenko is just one of the greatest female fighters we have seen so far.
Yeah.
And so I had Shevchenko winning the fight, even if it did go past the third.
Yeah, I agreed. I just didn't see it going anywhere else.
And now we have to wonder who is next for Shevchenko in a division where it's not really a lot of challengers. So that's the issue you're going to run into, which maybe they do Shevchenko versus Lauren Murphy. Maybe they do Shevchenko versus and then there's 3. Maybe they do that.
Yeah.
I don't know who you match Shevchenko up against.
She's just so dominant, and it's not that she's just so good. It's that she's the experience she has just is beating these not newer girls because they've been fighting for a while, but these women, she's just beating these women, and it's damn, someone's got to come eventually, but it's just not happening right now.
Justin Tafa beat Juan Adams by TKO in round 1. Anything you want to say here?
I thought that was an impressive move by Tafa, who was just recently knocked out in the fight he had. I think it was it the UFC New York card? Am I bugging? No, sorry, it was the Australia card. I thought that was a very good fight. I actually had him winning until that guy was able to land a step back straight and catch him. I had Tafa winning that fight. But Tafa's only going to get better. Juan Adams, I think he needs to just reassess his game plan when it comes to being a longer, big fighter at heavyweight.
I agree.
That's really it. That's really
it. Dan Ige beat Marsad Bekti by split decision. Good fight. Solid fight.
solid fight.
I don't know who you match up Dan Ige with next. Maybe you can do Arnold Allen. Maybe you could do, Sadiq Yusuf. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Ige, he's a featherweight. He's one of the. He's 5'7". He's a good size for featherweight. I think when it comes to UFC's featherweight division, there's just now that Max is not at the top, there's just so much. There's just so much that can happen at the moment. And so whoever he gets matched up with is probably going to be a really interesting fight. If I'm being honest with you.
But he's nowhere. I don't think Dan Ige is in line yet. I don't think he's in line yet for somebody that's ranked. No. I think he would have to take a Sadiq Yusuf or a Arnold Allen.
I don't see. I see Yusuf. If I'm being honest with you, Yusuf getting somebody in the top 10.
That's possible.
I only see not this is bad to say, but I only see superstar for this guy. So I really don't see him getting anybody who's not ranked. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
That's fair. Derek Lewis beat Ilir Latifi by unanimous decision. You thought this was Ilir Latifi. I go back and watch the fight. I had it for Ilir Latifi too.
Yeah, I think I thought it was a close fight, right? But then once because the first round, right, Ilir Latifi kind of looked like a deer in headlights on certain situations, not every situation. Yeah. He's a 5'10", 247-pound guy, right? Then you have Derek Lewis, who's about maybe 6'3", 6'4" almost, who's 270 pounds probably. These guys are both about put on 15 pounds of what they were able to weigh. And so you have this big guy, and it's kind of figuring out, well, I can't take him down right away because I tried this and this failed, so what do I do? So Ilir kind of is like trying to figure it out, and by rounds 2 and 3, he gets those trips. We're not going for takedowns now. Now we're going with the takedowns, of course, but we're not trying to pick him up and slam him. Now we're trying to use his body weight against him, and I thought that adjustment was pretty good. I thought, let's go for these inside trips. Let's go for these kind of lateral tosses at the point. And then let's work him till he's not tired. I thought it was interesting how they stood them up. Like they stood them up or broke them apart off the fence when they weren't doing any work. And then they broke them apart on the fence when they weren't doing much, which is fair. But then when I believe Ilir Latifi was able to get a trip or anything like that, they had stood them up. And I thought that was interesting. But other than that,
I thought the breaking them apart was a little interesting to see, but then I understand. I won't be too mad at referees intervening a little bit more because of the fact that it just makes it creates more of dynamic in the fight.
Yeah.
And if it's not a total control position where he's working towards something, I'm not that opposed to the referee maybe intervening, maybe a little early.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I had Ilir Latifi winning. I don't know where he goes from here. I don't know if he goes back to light heavyweight after this because he sees how he's going to share at heavyweight with the size of these heavyweights now. So we'll see what happens with Ilir Latifi.
You know what's interesting for me? For him, I'm going to try not to go too long on this tangent here, but did his game plan towards round 2 and 3 remind you of when Daniel Cormier first got into the heavyweight division at UFC? When he kind of was like, put him against the cage, let's get some trips, let's try to work that dirty boxing. I almost thought that's where he was going to go, but he didn't. I think if there's anybody to model off a game plan for Ilir Latifi for the same size and to match that is Daniel Cormier. The Olympic level wrestling may not be there, but he's got the power, and Daniel Cormier has the power too. And I think that to start off when it comes to the heavyweight division, that the way he beat Frank Mir, I think was, it wasn't exactly exciting, but he was able to shut him down. I think Ilir Latifi could take away from that moving forward if he decides to stay a heavyweight. Could go back to 205. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think also the difference between Ilir Latifi and Cormier is just that at that time as well, Cormier did have better boxing than Ilir Latifi does.
It's true. Yeah,
and I think that's the bigger difference.
Well, when you're fighting Cain Velasquez, you got it.
Yeah. So I just think that's the big difference. I don't know where he goes from here. Maybe he goes back to light heavyweight. I don't see him sticking around the heavyweight just because of the height, the size difference. But who knows? Maybe he says, you know what, I'm gonna stick around. Trevin Giles beat James Krause by split decision in the middleweight division. James Krause steps up on 1 day's notice. I thought it was a good fight, though. James Krause maybe could have given him the nod.
Yeah, I thought
it's not a robbery. It's not a total robbery.
No, it's not. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but I did think
it's not a robbery.
That fight. I thought split is fine. I'm okay with the split because it was a very close fight. I think again the narrative of it's a big shot and the crowd would go but it's like one big shot and then you miss 10 is kind of like that's great, but like you miss 10. Yeah, so and you're not finishing them off the one big shot, so. it's just a shot. But when Krause was able to do is Krause got his back in the first round and changed that narrative really quick. Got his back, was trying to lock in the rear naked, couldn't get it. And then just stood with him through the leg kicks, through the teep kicks. It was good, but they were both tired and the guys were just slugging at the end. So I was impressed by both guys. I think Krause moves back to 170 and Krause is on the radar of the UFC now for this.
Yes. Laura Murphy beats Andrea Lee by split decision. It was a good fight.
Great fight.
Kalen Williams in his UFC debut, like we spoke before, beat Alex Moreno by knockout. He's 10-1 in the welterweight division. Yeah. Mario Batista beat Miles Jones by TKO in round 2.
Yeah.
Journey Newson beat Domingo Pilarte by TKO in round 1.
Look at you pronouncing these names.
And Andre Yu, I'm trying, man. And Andre Yu beat Jonathan Martinez by split decision. Overall, it was a solid card. I can't say that I was disappointed. I can't say that I found myself, looking away at times. I thought UFC 247 had my attention. There's a lot of other names on the prelims that, Kalen Williams, Mario Batista, Journey Newson, other people I'm looking at.
Good prospects.
And I thought overall, this is something that the UFC 247 we're going to be talking about for the next couple of days. So I think overall, UFC 247 did its job.
It did its job. This wasn't supposed to be the biggest card of the year, but again, this is supposed to introduce. I thought this card was supposed to introduce people, and that it did. Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Elijah?
We kind of gave it a rating. I would give this card a B.
As well, I think it was a solid B. I think that, like we said before, everything we're going to be talking about the results of this card for the next couple of days, and it may result in a rematch. It may result in a new matchup. So we don't know where the results of this card are going to take us.
No,
but it was not a robbery.
No, I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, in my opinion.
Yes, and I recommend anybody that watches the stream to go back and watch the fight again without the commentary.
No commentary. Just volume mute.
Just look at it for yourself, and you give your assessment of what you saw.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you for people that's going to watch. Thank you for the subscribers. Please subscribe. Please share. Send your notifications. You never know when we'll go live and do this stream. We're going to be doing another one next week covering Anderson and help me out here.
Jan Blachowicz.
There you go. So we're going to be doing that. And one of my favorite fighters, Michelle. Help me out here.
Waterson?
No.
Oh, who?
Brazilian.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The guy that's going to fight Diego Sanchez next week. I can't pronounce his name.
Oh, Michael Pereira.
There we go. Yes, he's fighting. I love that guy. So I can't wait.
Well, my boy beat him, so it's cool.
Yeah. We'll see how he does this time. Signing off. My name is Tyree Simon.
Elijah Jones.
This has been MMA Renegade episode 14. You guys have a nice day.